Hey everybody, this is Ask the Sensei, the VO Dojo's Ask the Sensei live Q&A webinar. I'm Tish Hicks, the Master Sensei of the VO Dojo, and we are very, very pleased to have joining us for the first time and ongoingly, Dan Leonard, the home studio master, who is the new Dojo Techno Sensei. So he's going to be joining us and adding his expertise to answer the technical questions that come up that we all have. I'm very excited to have you here, Dan. Where you go? There you go. All right, let us begin. So the idea of this Ask the Sensei is that we are all on our voiceover journeys. You know, I've been doing this for over 20 years now as a VO pro. And there's still questions that I have next. There's like, wait, what needs to happen, or what else do I need? So wherever you are on this journey, there's always the next question. So this is a place on a monthly basis to get some answers. And if you have something that you know that you might want to add in, feel free to add it in the chat there. All right, Dan, are you ready? Shall we start with some questions?
I'm here.
First few are for you. Can everyone hear us okay? Let us know if there's any tech problems. Okay, so let us begin with Jennifer's question, which is, when is it time to change a mic? Are there any specific signs to look out for apart from obvious sound? Should be cleaned and inspected periodically. I have a PG Shure 42 USP, had it for 2 to 3 years. Should I always cover it when not in use? That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a good question. And the follow-up question for that would be, are you getting work? Is anybody complaining about your audio? You know, you got to remember something. You don't hire you. What you perceive your sound to be means absolutely nothing to any producer anywhere, unless you are hearing white noise in the background, unless you're hearing that you're over modulating or something along those lines. It's pretty simple that everybody overthinks the microphone issue. When it comes to your home studio, the most important thing is acoustics and mic technique, not the mic you have. Now, you're using a PG42, which is, by the way, one of the best USB mics that are out there. If it's working for you, there is no microphone or any system out there in any way, shape, or form that will change the way you perform, copy, or come across as a voice actor. It's just not part of reality, and people need to get that out of their heads. If you have a mic, people say, what's the best mic for voiceover? I usually say probably the one you got, unless you have something that's $150 and less. So yeah. Now, do you cover it? You can. I think somebody I know actually made a mitten for microphones.
Mic mitten?
I think it was
And what would be the school of thought of having a mic mitten? To keep dust out of it?
Just to keep it warm in winter. No, I mean, it depends on where you are. I mean, here in Southern California, things is dusty, but we also have air filtration, and dust will collect over a period of years, and it's good to take a look at it and see if it's dusty and blow it out a little bit every now and again. But it's not that much of a problem. The real problem was back in the 70s when you'd had these guys going, all right, now we're going to and blowing smoke through all these things. And, suddenly these things would look kind of yellow, but it's not that. If you're hanging your mic properly, if you're using it properly, it usually isn't an issue. If you're not using it for long periods of time, take it off the stand, put it back in its box, and leave it there, and then put it back up. And that's taking much better care of it than You know, if it's just sitting there collecting dust. But we don't want it sitting there collecting dust. We want people using it and making a living with it.
And when you say blow it out, is that like just with condensed air, like with a little spray? Oh, just literally pop it out.
Don't blow right into the diaphragm. Just, this thing's been sitting here for 2 years and there's no dust blowing off of it.
Okay, good. So a great question, and the answer is kind of not too much to worry, but
yeah,
make sure you're using it regularly. And
that is correct. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Good. Hopefully that is helpful, Jennifer. All right, great. Michael has a really excellent question. What would be your advice to someone who's looking to gain some experience and exposure in the VO business, however, may not have the funding to take professional lessons at this point of time? In years past, you've gone to a voiceover boot camp, as well as taking classes both in person and over the phone. I fully understand that training is an ongoing process and want to be able to eventually set up to that next level. However, I find it discouraging when I believe I have some of the talent and drive needed, not the money to back it up at this moment. 3 young children. Excellent. Yes, kids in voiceover. Yes, it can be done. I have too. Dan has raised some to adulthood. So currently have a full-time job as well as independently working as, where we go, a public address announcer, which requires me to do large volume of live reads. Work in live environments, no second takes, right? So you are a working professional, Michael. You're doing it because doing that live announce is a genre of voiceover, and you are getting paid to do voiceover. And being able to do it under that pressure is fantastic. Now, here's my take on this. Voiceover, stepping into this is stepping into starting your voiceover business. So you always want to approach this as, I am starting a business. This isn't something that you're doing as a hobby. Well, it can be something you're doing as a hobby. If you are doing it as a hobby, then identify it as such and set your expectations as such. If you're planning to do this as a profession, then what would the questions be that you would be saying, if I was starting a such and so business, whatever that is, right? And what would be the approach? Oh, I don't have any money to start my such and so business. Well, the questions are great. What can you do with no money? Or what can you do to get money? Or, those are basically the two questions. What can you do with no money? Or how, if you were starting another business, how would you get funding? Or how would you plan to have money to start that business? I think having expectations of starting a business, you can start it on a shoestring, right? There's a great book called The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. And let me find the author. Oh, hold on. I'll get the author for you. He also has a book called Profit First. But The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur is all about starting business on the toilet paper metaphor is, if you're in the bathroom and you only have like 3 sheets of paper on the toilet paper roll, what do you do? It's that creativity and that necessity that creates the toilet paper entrepreneur. So having the mindset that you can do with what you do with what you have to the most of your ability, and if you want more, and that getting more resources is an essential part of growing the business, right? Now, I like to think of, as we're on this journey, that we've made the decision that we are going to have voiceover as a part of our lives, that we are starting this business. So the first thing is making the decision, right? And then allowing everything to fall in place. And then you want to think about, how am I weaving this into the tapestry of my life, right? So we do what we can as we are going and growing, always keeping it consistently going, doing what we can, and weaving it into the complex, beautiful lives that we have. And eventually, what starts happening is the threads that were this part of your life start becoming the parts that you're doing your voiceover, right? So we're always integrating it. There's massive amounts of information and opportunities that you can be doing, things like this, where you can be connecting with people, and doing your, creating community, asking questions. And what are you doing on a daily basis? There's things that you can be doing to get started, that, that will put you in the game, and then you continue to go and grow. And then what can you be doing? Like, if, for instance, if you committed a portion of your full-time job to being your business startup money, you say, this is my budget for my voiceover work. Just as like you budget for the 3 kids, right? And every penny of any money that I make doing my live announce work is going to go back to the business, right? So if the mindset is, I don't have enough money, then how do you shift that? Go, how can I get the money, or how can I allot the money that I have? Dan, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, when it comes to, if you're trying to start this, you got to understand what this business is and what it takes to really succeed in it, and that your expectations and ideas about what it is may not be 100% correct. And it takes investigating. I mean, you can go on YouTube, you can Google stuff, but you've got to understand that this is, as Tish said, this is a business. You're an entrepreneur. You're trying to learn how to market yourself and put yourself in front of people who will hire you. And by the way, can everybody hear me okay now?
Yeah.
My level was a little low, but
ironically.
Very ironically. The thing is that we need to understand that it takes a lot of work, and that nobody else is going to do it for you. And you can't buy your way into being noticed. I mean, you have to, paying somebody else to do it. On a pay-to-play, it's a great place to start, as long as you go to the one that's not screwing you over. And also, but doing your own marketing, picking up the phone, video production companies in my community, video production companies, elsewhere. All you gotta do is Google it. Find out. The question you need to ask is, when you meet people or you're talking to people at a company, is, who's the guy? Who's the guy that does the e-learning stuff? Who's the guy that does your promotions? Who's the guy that produces your power? Who's the guy? Ask that question, and ask that question everywhere you go and every place you call, and that will lead you to work.
Right. And so what I'm hearing, to distill this, Michael, first of all, trust that you are a working pro. You are being paid to do voiceover work in this genre. You ask, what are the skills that you use in this position to translate? Being able to know what it takes to deliver in one take is an extraordinary skill. That you know how to look at a piece of copy and prepare it and know, boom, you've got it spot on. Huge, 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 huge part of the process. The thing, in a nutshell, what I'm hearing is, how do you keep on developing your skills to be competitive? And that's practice, that's listening, that's finding opportunities to optimize your training for the least amount of money. For instance, at the dojo, we have a basics weekly workout. That's after You Should Do Voiceover Intensive. That's very affordable way to do that. So there's ways of doing it out there, or start your own workout group. From wherever you are, or virtually. The things that I'm hearing Dan say is expectations. Understand, what are your expectations? So, as a business person, what are your expectations of how much money that you want to be making in the course of a year, or as your what is your first year expectation? What is your second? What is your ultimate goal? And then how do you reverse engineer that? And then I also hear Dan talking about connections, right? Of keeping on putting yourself out there as a voiceover person, identifying yourself as a voiceover person, and it's about connecting. Let me know if you have any follow-up on that, Michael, and I'm happy if you want to do like a voiceover once-over call that we can talk more specifically about you. Happy to do that. I noticed that Dina, who's one of our dojo members, who also does a lot of live announce, you guys might want to connect up. Just put the toilet paper entrepreneur. What is that called? A link. Mike Michalowicz is the author.
Here's another one too.
Ooh.
Very useful. The one-page business plan by Jim Horan for creatives. It's a great program. It's a great book to plan out what you need to do.
Excellent. Yeah. This doesn't happen casually, guys, as you all know. And the more focused you can be, the better.
As much as we would like it to.
Exactly. Excellent. Good. So Leland asks, my promo demo is self-produced and I lifted content from various sources. Is this okay, or should I write my own content? I've placed a disclaimer that none of the promos are official. Okay. You want to answer first, Dan?
No, go ahead. No.
Okay. First of all, Leland, let me see where you are calling from. Okay, so first of all, it's a little bit like, you've got, let me see, where are you calling from, Leland? Where are you located? I'm just trying to get a sense of how to calibrate. It doesn't really matter, but if you can type in the chat where yours. Okay, so here's the thing. A little bit like the mic that Dan was just talking about is if you've self-produced a demo and it sounds great and it is competitive, I don't care. The whole point of a demo is that we want it to be working at such a level that the people who are hearing it, the decision makers who are hearing it, can't distinguish it from something that's on the air. If anyone can distinguish anything on your demo as not being from on the air, then it probably isn't working at the caliber that you need it to be. So you don't have to write. These are all things that I didn't actually do. In terms of content, there's a couple of schools of thought, right? If you're not a copywriter, don't write copy, right? Why would you hire yourself to write copy if you're not a copywriter? If something's on the air with someone else's voice on it, why would you put that on there? I had one of my dear voiceover colleagues who I adore. When we first got to know each other, we had met through audiobook genre, and she's like, "Oh, listen to my voiceover demo." I was like, "Great, yay!" And I listened. I'm like, "That's my Citibank spot. I've been the voice of Citibank for 7 years." Awkward, complimentary, and that something that I had on the air was something that she would want to, or would be a prototype that someone would want on their demo. So we want your demo to be competitive, to be like indistinguishable from something on the air. So what does that take? To really showcase the range of what you're bringing, what the range of your voice is possible. And that doesn't mean it needs to be from gee. It depends on what your voice does. Just showcasing what is possible in your voice. And the most important thing is that the demo shows really what you are bringing to the party. What really resonates with you, because your demo is your one place where you have control over what is going to be out there. So if you don't give a rat's ass about dishwashers, but you have a great voice for dishwasher sounds, why would you put something that you don't care about on there, right? So, so I think, you can, no one has time to be like, "Excuse me, sir, I believe that copy on there is," no. There's a little bit more issues with like images on your website nowadays than that. But so those are the things that come up for me around this question of demos. And then the question becomes, how can you tell if your demo is Oh, and also this is a promo demo. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not reading as carefully as I should. So then the promo demo, promo is an even more specific realm, and often involves making sure that there's clips and things like that. So so same things apply. It's just even more specific. Dan, what do you have to?
Well, I mean, if on a demo, if you're producing your own stuff, one, I wouldn't just throw it out there unless you let some other people, who you trust, listen to it first and see, is it up to snuff? Is it something that's going to help you or hinder you? When it comes to using, if you're lifting material, like you said, Tish, I mean, pictures, yeah, people kind of get ticked off about that.
Right.
But with audio, though, I mean, you don't want to use copyrighted material, and you don't want to make it sound like you lifted something. If you're going to lift something, I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that, whether they're lifting copy or something along those lines. You can lift copy, just rewrite it a little bit,
right.
And make it relevant.
Yeah, and I'm realizing, Leland, sorry to not be more focused on this question. Your actual question might be that you have lifted content from different promos, that is like clips from a show, right? I think audio wise, that's probably not going to be a big deal. And then visual wise, I also don't think it'd probably be a big deal after something is already run, right? If it's something that hasn't been on. But this is a good question. One of our first Fight Club guests, VO Dojo Pro Fight Club, is working pro workout that we do on a monthly basis, one virtual and one live in LA once a month. That will start up in September again. But our first virtual guest is JJ Jurgens, who is a promo producer from CBS. So you know what? Let me run this by her, Leland, and see what her opinion about that is, because she's both a producer and a talent. So she's pretty extraordinary. She's going to be joining us on, I think, September 18th. So let us know if you're interested in that. So sorry to kind of loop around that. Hopefully we got to the actual question. And the stuff that we answered is applies to every time you're putting any demo in any genre out. So Lynn says, good morning. Let me go to the chat and catch up. There's a couple of questions in the chat. Leland, was that? Oh, Eilish from Lower New York State, where it's raining, said, when you put together your bio for pay to play or your web page, how much is appropriate to put in? You want to start, Dan?
What's the question again? I didn't quite hear you.
Bios for your web page.
Yeah, a bio for your web page. Well, you don't need to tell them that you're married and live, in a household, and you have a dishwasher and things like that. Specific. Be very, very specific. The most important things that you need to get across to a potential client is your name, your contact information, and your demos, and what type of work you have done. Other than that, the rest is all more stuff than anybody's ever going to read. You want to show who your clients are, what genres of work you do, and because the rest of it is irrelevant. I once appeared on Broadway. Fabulous. I mean, you want to get what you have done, not what you want to do. That's not going to help in a bio.
Right. And I do think that if you have something that is that shows that you work in high caliber situations or have an understanding of things, that if you are a Broadway level performer, that's a level of professionalism, right? That you're the party. I wouldn't expect that because you are a Broadway performer that you would then get a voiceover. But, so that's something of interest. I think a best way to do this is One, put yourself in the buyer's shoes. So who are the clients that you want to be working with, right? And what would catch your eye, and make it short and sweet, right? Nobody wants to read your autobiography. What is great about you? What can you bring to my party? How can you serve me? How does what you have to bring to the party serve me? How can you write that in the most succinct way as possible? So I think, having your tweet version, having your Facebook version, and that's it, right? And that, extended dance moves, come meet me for coffee sort of thing. So how can you activate that short amount of time to articulate how you can help somebody else, not make it about yourself, is a great way to approach it. Another way, if you're looking at P2P, look at what other people have on there. See who, if there's a way to calibrate, if there's something you can look up of who's, if there's a spotlight on, hey, here's someone who's really successful on this P2P. Look at their bio. Look at what they're doing, right? And make it your own. But yeah, be interesting, be helpful, be, and then also be personal, right? Because if you put in something, that really makes you stand out, for instance, one of our dojo members, Andy Greenfield, go to andygreenfield.com. I think that's his email, or that's his site. He just finished his black belt and is starting to take meetings at William Morris and things like that. So he's from Montana, and he did a beautiful thing with his bio. He didn't write it out per se. I think it might be written somewhere, but he did a recorded demo. He did a recorded bio of him just sort of musing. And it is so compelling. That's his version, and that was what was compelling for him. But what's going to make you stand out? And what's going to make someone like, I want to work with that guy? Andy has like the driest, I call him like a stealth humor, stealth wit. Because he'll say something, and then like 3 seconds later, there's a sonic boom of like, oh my God, that was the funniest thing I ever heard. Like it just hits you. So how do you articulate something that gives people a sense of A, that you're absolutely professional, on point, and B, you'd be fun to work with and can get the job done. So yeah, let's see. These are good questions. I love this. I love this format. It's so exciting. Okay, I'm doing good here. Ted asks, what is the best place to find work? So this is an incredibly vague question. Would require where people are hiring you. So Ted, there's lots and lots of layers of that we need more information. What work are you looking for? What skills are you bringing to the table? Where are you located? What what are you interested in doing? What genres are you interested in working in? Because each one is going to have a slightly different way to approach it. And all of those things, are going to depend, each one of us is going to have a different composition of what those answers are. So, a great, like, general mantra to have about this: what's the best place to work? The shortest distance. Like, how can you cut to the chase? So if you're stepping into the voiceover world and someone who's the head of Sony's animation department, why don't you talk to them? And all of us have some version of, oh, I know somebody who knows me. I could do that. And if you don't, then get to know people, right? So what is the most direct way to work? So first of all, clarify all of those answers. And specificity is the key to this the key to success, both in your skill set as a voiceover artist. You're always looking for the nuance within the nuance within the nuance within the nuance. It's not specificity about getting caught in your head. It's about being able to look at all the options and be able to analyze it and bring it to your heart. But the specifics are the key to everything, both in building our skills and building our businesses. Dan, anything to add on the very, very...
Where's the best place to find work? Where they use voices. I mean, you've got to... you got to think, who uses voices? Every time I step in an elevator and someone says, 3rd floor, I go, someone had to audition for that.
Gets paid for that, exactly.
Have your elevator speech ready. I remember last year I was at a convention at the Trop in Las Vegas, and someone said, what are you guys all doing? Oh, it's a voiceover convention. Oh, really? What's that? And I'm like, I actually get to do the elevator speech in an elevator. Anyway, there's just so much stuff out there. Where's the place to go find work where they use voices? And you've got to figure out where those places are. There are video production companies that are doing e-learning. There are producers that are making commercials. There are producers doing documentaries. Start locally. See who does that stuff locally, and work your way out. Do what we used to do in the life insurance business and create your sphere and go, anybody in your social sphere or family, does anybody know anybody that does this? And just do that type of networking and just keep doing it. It's not going to come to you. You got to go to it. And the best place to find it is, probably a lot closer to home than you think.
Yeah.
Get yourself some experience doing that kind of stuff. And, while also trying to pursue what's out there. That's why the pay-to-plays are there, and that's why your phone is there, and that's why your email is there. And
yeah. And I think there's also a different mindset. It's interesting. One of our dojo members is a veteran, so we've been trying to translate the voiceover business into terms that the government will approve for vocational rehab. And it's been very confusing for me. I'm like, well, how do I prove voiceover is a viable source of income? I'm like, well, I don't know. I've been doing it for 20 years. I have a house, I have a kid. It's what I do. I make $100,000 a year at. I don't know. I do it. but it's been really hard to go like, okay, what do the normal standards of this is how a job is articulated and this is how you go get a job. It doesn't quite work like that. You have to be as creative in your how do you get work as you are in the creativity that you bring to a piece of copy. So your way of doing things is not necessarily going to be the way. You can keep on asking like, how do you get work? Oh, working actor, how do you get work, right? Keep on asking questions, and then you're going to be formulating your own best way. It's going to serve your vision and your world and how you're weaving this into the fabric of your life. Good. So keep on getting more specific, Ted. Keep on asking even more specific questions, and then the answers will be much closer when you ask even more specific questions. So good. Excellent. Here's a question for you, Dan, from Don Dean. Can wide/shallow, not walk-in closet, be an effective audio booth? If so, how best set up with reference to anti-reflection treatment, mic and copy placement, etc.?
Okay, a closet can be fabulous. It's a shallow closet, like your typical 18-inch shallow closet with a sliding door on it that many of us see in various places. It can be effective if you're in a quiet room. You got to remember there's two things you're trying to deal with here. One is preventing exterior noise from coming into your recording space. And that is an expensive, impossible thing to do in a home setting, even with a vocal booth. You're not going to prevent all noise from coming in. That doesn't mean don't try. That means try and find the quietest room that you possibly can to record in that has this 18-inch sliding door shallow closet. The next thing is if you've got clothes in there, fabulous. Keep lots of clothes in there. All you have to do in order to create good non-reflective surfaces is take your clothes, separate them a little bit, put the microphone right in front of it, and that is incredibly effective at reducing. Need a glass of water there, Tish?
I'll be right back.
Okay. And what you need to do is use those clothes. There's an old story once. Somebody had set up in their closet, and he emailed me. He says everything sounds different for some reason from what it did the other day. And I'm like, well, did you send something to the cleaners? And he moved a down jacket or something along those lines. And then, that will change the acoustics somewhat. I don't think it'll change it that much that anybody's going to notice. But the other thing is you can also treat a room with non-reflective material. And one of the cheapest and best things I have found is going over to Harbor Freight, if you got a Harbor Freight in your town, and buy a couple of maybe 4 or 5 moving blankets that they have there for like less than $8. And double those up and just sort of tack those to the walls and the ceiling around you. And that will neutralize the room echo a whole lot. If you're talking into the closet, if you talk out into the room, that's a whole other deal. There is a formula for doing it, and a narrow closet like that is very difficult to use as an isolation booth, but it can be effective as something that will diffuse the room sound a whole lot.
Cool. Excellent. And the end of the call, Dan does consultations. So at the end of the call, we'll make sure that y'all know how to reach him, because he can help you wherever you are.
Yeah, the thing is that every situation is different, and it really needs to be customized.
Right.
And you have to think about what your voice is like, how loud you talk, what are the materials in the room, that sort of thing. And that's my area of expertise, and I can help you with that.
Yeah, excellent. With those packing blankets, Dan, do you have any issues with the off-gassing stuff? I know sometimes like things that are plasticky and stuff like.
Some people complain, some people don't. I would say if you get blankets like that, just let them air out for a little while.
Let it go outside. Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing. I've used them in a lot of places, and people haven't complained. And I used them in one place, and someone, I'm really sensitive to this stuff. I'm like,
mm-hmm.
So you're really sensitive, It depends on the material. They're not consistent, but they work really, really well. Or just aside from moving blankets, a duvet works really, really well. A thick duvet, so you can use something along those lines as well.
Good. Soft, cushy, catching the sound.
That is correct.
Good. Here's another quick tech question from Dina DeHillig. I need to somehow mount my monitor in my whisper room, and I hate the idea of drilling into it. A long time ago, I saw a pole mount, floor-to-ceiling contact like a curtain rod, but I can't find it again. Sound familiar?
Yeah. Mounting a monitor inside a booth, attaching things to the walls, especially a whisper room, not a really good idea. You've got to realize that part of what that booth is doing is it's separating you from the outside world. And when you drill into it, you are actually sort of like creating a conduit for sound to get in. It's not that critical, but there are other ways to mount things in there. And I know Whisper Room has ways of mounting things. Another thing to do is to just put it on a music stand, something that's going to stand independently off the wall. You really don't want to be having a whole lot of things on the wall there, because the monitor is pretty heavy. Or use an iPad, or I sometimes think I should go back to really using paper copy, because then you can mark your copy as you're doing stuff, and that's a really important thing. But having a monitor in your booth, like back there, it can be a very effective thing. But the way my booth is designed, it's actually built into the building, so it's not. I was able to do that. But don't be drilling through the actual walls there. So talk to the people at Whisper Room about it.
So the idea of creating something like a tension mounted stripper pole, is that something? It doesn't matter where the holes are, right?
You really don't want it. You don't want to play games with how you stretch and push the booth itself. It's very very specifically put together.
Mhm.
And you know, I know some people have created, you know, there are some companies that make a boom mic mount that will mount to the ceiling. You know, you could probably try something like that, but not something I would recommend. You know, other people might recommend that you do that.
Mhm.
I'm not a big fan of it. I really think that everything needs to be independent inside a booth.
Okay, good.
That's just,
Hopefully that's helpful, Dina. Um, good, good. Salim says, I'm currently working full-time. I'd like to know how to go about doing workable and part-time basis. Salim, I think we kind of answered this with Michael's question about how are you approaching this as a business, making a decision that it is something that you're going to do, and then how do you keep on weaving it in on a part-time basis? You know, doing it on a part-time basis is the way you get to doing it on a full-time basis. You want to think of it as gradation and moving towards it. Ideally, the tipping point will come where, now is the moment that I will do this on a full-time basis and take that leap. You know, how you integrate your full-time job is something that it's kind of like, how do you integrate having kids? Right? If you have a full-time job, then you figure out how to get the kids to daycare. You figure out how to spend time with them in the morning and in the evening, and you can't forget about them. Right? If you want anything to happen in your voiceover career, you need to put it as a priority in some way and fit it in as you can, and be consistent with it and make the time for it. And do what you can when you can. Figure out when your voice is working optimally. If you're not a morning person, maybe it's a nighttime person, right? And fit in what you can. And then being available, you know, in terms of doing this full time, being available is one of the most important things of the game. Because if you're not available, someone else is, and they'll get the job done. If you're building clients yourself, if you are not able to get to it for 2 or 3 days and someone has an 18-hour turnaround, that's who's going to get them. So think of it like, how would you fit children into your schedule and build it around that. Hopefully that's helpful. Let's see. Anne Kennegeiser, who is a Broadway actress, who is just stepping into her full-time voiceover career. Travel all the time? Still? Yes, I guess so. You're still on the road. Is there an easy way to travel foam, etc. for to-go studio? Currently use closet/clothing and a chaotic eyeball.
yes, the chaotic eyeball, which is, I think, an appropriate name for it. Traveling. All right, I have an entire thesis on this. If your life depends on you getting out an audition that you have a 1 in 100 chance of getting, if you're on the road, concentrate on what you're doing on the road for. If you are on vacation with your family, vacation with your family. If you are on the road, with a road company or something like that, I can see where you might want to, if you've got the time, you can do auditions and stuff like that. Just remember that when you're on the road, you are in a completely, totally, utterly different acoustical environment than at your home. You cannot continue work that you started at home. You can only complete work that you start there. You can't change the acoustics of your recording in the middle of a process if you're not doing it all at once. And it's just impossible to recreate that. Plus, you're probably using a different microphone. You don't want to be taking expensive stuff with you on the road unless you are under contract and have to be available 24 hours a day to some, to a radio station or a production company that is like, we need to update this stuff like this, like this, like this. It's a handful of people that do this, and to try to aspire to it is not the same as doing it. The thing is you don't do things to get work. You work to do, to get the things you need. it's kind of a catch-22. If you're on the road, concentrate on what you're on the road for. If you absolutely positively have to get an audition out, there are much simpler ways to do it. One, tell whoever it is that's seeking an audition, I am on the road. The audio quality on auditions generally is not as important as to how well you interpret copy. So you can take out your iPhone, get into your car, go on Twisted Wave, and hold the mic like this and do it like that. It's not, everybody tends to overcomplicate this entire situation. I got to sound great. I'm on the road. I want to show people how professional I am. Doing it on the road sometimes shows that you're on the road. And I think that people need to shy away from doing that kind of stuff. Do what's simple, do what's easy, do what is something that is not going to interfere with everything else you're doing. Sometimes I get into a hotel and I'm like, this closet will work, and I'll throw up a duvet or something like that, because duvets in hotels are fabulous for that. But it's not worth the investment at this time, unless you are a highly paid professional whose life depends on your ability to get auditions out there for large commercial ventures that are going to pay you thousands and thousands of dollars, which all of you beginners are not going to be doing tomorrow morning. Just being honest. I mean, you might be fabulous and you might get that opportunity, and I don't want to discourage you from trying it, because the opportunities are limitless. But the opportunities will come once you've established yourself in this business, not putting the cart before the horse. Am I being too negative there, Tish?
No. I think the more you can, the more that you can do whatever you can from wherever you can. And I think the real key for everyone is something that Dan and I are talking about in terms of how do you understand as a voiceover artist what makes a good recording? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you calibrate? Like, oh, that sounds like shit, I can't send that. Or you know what? That's good. That's just fine. Send it out. We want to make sure that there's nothing about our sound recording that is that is detrimental or gets it dismissed, right? Because a great read that sounds like crap will be dismissed. So the question, in addition to understanding how you can do it and getting your setup optimized, and then if you're traveling, how do you know how to calibrate? So, I'm in this room in Houston and it is an echo chamber. I'm figuring, I walk into a space and I'm like, all right, where's the smallest? Okay, there's a little linen closet here. If I put a pillow here and a pillow here, I'm like going to be working like this, but I just need to make sure my microphone's here. Right. So you start going, Mission Impossible. Great. Here's the assignment. I'm in this echoey chamber. How do I, so then how you calibrate that? I keep on asking questions. So, and I think that's a great thing. Like if you can, have Dan work with you and watch him ask the questions about your space, then you can go like, I could do the same thing in whatever space that I'm in. I think that's a great way to approach it.
Yeah, and it is important to learn what it's supposed to sound like, and you're not going to learn it overnight. You need to get, you need to send people who know what it's supposed to sound like samples and get feedback. Does this sound okay? Is there too much echo? Is my modulation off? Am I popping my P's? That sort of thing. I do a free analysis on my website, and go to homevoiceoverstudio.com and click on the specimen collection cup and send me a sample of your raw audio. Follow the instructions, and I don't charge for the analysis, but I could.
Hilarious.
You can it can be very helpful, and there are other people that will also analyze it as well, but they charge for that.
Cool. Good. I want to keep around here. So we've only got like 9 more minutes, and I want to let you guys know what's coming up. So I'm going to take a couple seconds at the end. We've got that. Let me pop through a couple more questions that I want to ask. There's a couple people who have asked a little bit more for advanced questions. Dorothy Carboni asks, how long should it take to get going realistically? I think that everyone needs to approach, I like to have people think of this as a gestation period. Everyone's going to have their own gestation period. I think a good average gestation period is you should not think about, you should be thinking about at least a year of really focused, consistent training to get from, I don't know, to even being in the realm of, okay, I know enough to be able to step in, start stepping in. It's really important to think about, and everyone's coming at this from a different level. People are coming from different experience levels, different things that they have mastery of. Everybody's individual, just like Dan's talking about your space is individual in terms of setting it up. Everybody's going to be coming at it. And gestation periods differ, right? It takes 63 days to gestate a puppy and 24 months to gestate an elephant. So each of you is going to be somewhere along there. Whatever you're gestating, you don't want your human baby born at 6 months because its lungs might not be working, right? So when people come to me and go like, oh, how can I get my demo? I did this class over a weekend and they gave me a demo. I was like, how's that going for you? How much are you paying for the NICU, right? How are you paying for the NICU? Because that's not going to be a breathing thing. So I think, and the way that the dojo is set up is it's a 14-month course that goes over the course of 15 months and guides you through that gestation period. I think realistically, if you are focused and you are doing consistent work over a year, that you should be able to start stepping into the ring. And then you probably want to give it another year to start earning income, and then it's probably realistic to start going like, let's make $20,000 a year, let's make $40,000, let's make 80, and let's aim for consistently sustaining $100,000, right? As you would for a business, right? So the more you can start from wherever you are and think of this as small, consistent steps, and then have the picture of the big picture in mind, the long game. You're in this for the long game. And then once you start doing that, once you make the decision, start taking the actions, don't be surprised if the helicopter comes and might take you. Because once you set your intention and start putting this out into the world, that this is what your order is to the universe, it's amazing what starts happening, who you start meeting, and where the connections come. But we're always, no matter where we are or what helicopter comes in, doing the next consistent step. So hopefully that's helpful. Let's pop through. There's a couple anonymous attendees that is how to approach working with veteran VOs. A lot of the dojo, the way that the dojo is structured is really to guide you from I don't know to working pro and beyond. I'm a working pro 20 years in, and I still am out there going, what's next? So in terms of if you're in the game as a working pro, we have the Nth Degree program, which is a weekly working pro workout that we meet virtually once a week. It has a powerful structure that's designed to focus and align you, or recalibrate you, or revive your mojo, or wherever you're at. I think of it like if you're a professional fighter, you're working in the gym to stay in fighting trim, right? And you want to be working with people who are going to be challenging at that level. And then we have the VO Dojo Pro Fight Club, which if you are a working pro, demo, repped, and booking, you're eligible to play. We do that in LA once a month and virtually once a month. If you're not demo, reps, and booking, you can audit the virtual fight clubs. So the Nth Degree is about $300 a month. Fight clubs vary from $100, like I think it's 97 for the live, sort of 80-ish for the virtual, and then the audit is I think $39. So, but if you have questions and want to talk more, I'd love to hear who you are and where you're at and how it can be helpful. Let's see, where are we at time-wise? Oh, 3 minutes. Okay. Let me answer A couple more questions. We have these questions, guys. And if you are interested in, if your question didn't get answered, get on my calendar to do voiceover once over. We can answer your question and also get a sense of, and Dan, I don't know how you approach being available for people.
Well, I have my website, homevoiceoverstudio.com. If you have a question or a concern or you want to do a consult, well.
Gotta go.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, hold on. I'll call you right back. Anyway, yeah, you go to homevoiceoverstudio.com. There's a contact the home studio master, or there's the specimen collection cup. If you got a question, ask. If we need to do a longer consultation, then we can discuss that.
Yeah, excellent. And these are some great questions. Yes. Oh my gosh, so many good questions. Yeah. So guys, let me let's wrap up because I want to honor that. This is a certain amount of time that we committed to here for everybody. First of all, we do these once a month. We do these Ask the Sensei the first Wednesday of every month. Dan is going to be joining us ongoingly, and then we might even, we might have other senseis who have specialties that might pop in and join us as well. So keep this on your calendar. We'd love to have you here. What else? So in terms of what's coming up next at the dojo, if you're in the beginning stages or halfway through, you're on your way from, I don't know, to working pro, our You Should Do Voiceover Intensive is coming up in LA, September 9th and 10th. We're enrolling now. So let me know if you're interested in that. And then in terms of our full program, the Mystery to Mastery program will be starting up in September as well. We just have a few slots left for people who are starting. But give me a call if you're interested in that. I can tell you about that. Fight Club will start up in the fall again. Keep on going to our website, join our Facebook page. Dan is available for consultations. He also, do you want to tell people about Voiceover Body Shop? And
sure. Monday nights, 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 Eastern time, 8:30 Newfoundland time. We do a talk show. It's called Voiceover Body Shop. Myself and George Whittam, who's also a home studio expert. We have a lot of fun talking about home voiceover studios, and we interview the top people in the business every week. They come into the studio, or they're from wherever they are, and we answer your questions, and we just have a good time. And it's a great resource for getting lots of information about how to run your voiceover business.
Yeah.
All I have to do is go to vobs.tv.
Excellent. Good. And if you're interested in talking a little bit more, www.thevodojo.com. If you scroll down, there's a place to sign up for a voiceover once-over call. So Dan, thank you so much. It's
my pleasure
to have you here. I really appreciate Dan because I'm a working pro who's been doing this for a long time, but I came up in a time when we didn't have to know all the technical stuff. So it's not part of my DNA. I always make sure that I have someone else who knows much more than me technically available, because it is part of the day-to-day work. You need to know this, but you need to know a certain amount and not be freaked out by it, and then always have someone else that knows more than you available. So I really appreciate it, because otherwise there'd be very short discussions.
My pleasure.
So we'll see you here next month, Dan. Join Dan on VOBS every Monday, and I'm gonna just take a couple minutes and answer by text a couple of these things. And we should have a recording of this available, so we'll send you a link about that. So thank you all so much for being here. Would love to hear your thoughts. You can go to the Facebook page and let us know what you think about that. And we'll see you next month.
Yeah. Thanks for all being here. Good crowd.
Thanks, guys.